Hello, welcome everyone to our February webinar on the blueprint to build right, focusing on the building information modeling sector of people using our digital codes. My name is Phil Anthony. I'm with Digital Codes as with ICC as a digital code solution specialist. While we're doing the presentation here, feel free to utilize the chat. Anything that I can answer directly in chat about digital codes, premium subscriptions, licenses, features, feel free to post those in there. At the end, we will be able to allow people to ask questions verbally. Raise your hand at the end there. And our star of the show, though, however, is Eric Stover, and I will let him do his introductions. But once again, this is being recorded and will be sent out to everyone that registered. And we thank you for joining, and I will turn it over to Eric.
Oh, thanks, Phil, and thanks everybody for attending today. I appreciate your time. And as Phil mentioned, yes, if you've got any questions, feel free to speak up during the presentation. I am going to take some pauses so we can interject with some Q&A throughout. So anyway, let's begin. So again, hello and welcome to Blueprint to Build Right, Unlocking Code Intelligence to Elevate Your BIM Workflows. That's a mouthful. As Phil said, I'm Eric Stover. I'm the Digital Products Manager here at the International Code Council. And today I'm going to cover how advanced code integration not only streamlines your design process and reduces some risk, but also gives you the talking points you need to confidently sell your leadership on the value of integrating BIM with the building code. All right, so let's dive in here. So first up, let's walk through the core content pillars that power ICC's digital ecosystem. At the heart of it all, we have the I codes, our flagship model codes, including the IBC, IRC, IFC, and more. And these are the foundation of safe and sustainable building practices across the US and around the world. Next up, we layer on adoptions, and ICC tracks how each jurisdiction adopts and amends the model codes. And it's essential for anyone working across regions or needing jurisdiction-specific clarity to have this information. States and global content brings the unique overlays, statewide modifications, regionally enforced codes, and international additions to bear. Standards are the technical backbone, reference documents like ANSI, ASHRAE, and others that support our model codes. And finally, commentary is the content which is expert interpretation of all the above. This includes official guidance from the ICC code development staff, which helps you understand the why behind the code, not just the what. Now let's talk a little bit about how we're bringing it to life through services that scale with your business needs. On the left side, you'll see our suite of services. These are tools and capabilities that sit on top of our code content to unlock value across the building lifecycle. AI Navigator gives your team 24/7 access to intelligent code guidance, code lookups, and compliance answers, powered by ICC's trusted content and models trained specifically for the built environment. Collaboration tools help your team, reviewers, and clients stay aligned. So for this, think markup, shared annotations, and comment threads that live directly within the code content itself. Expert engagement connects you with ICC experts for interpretation, project-specific questions, and deep code guidance, great for when the stakes are high or the language is unclear. And we know it can be unclear often. Next, our Code Connect API is for tech-forward firms that allows a seamless integration of the ICC content into BIM models, internal apps, and third-party platforms, bringing the code directly into design and compliance workflows that are specific to your own environment. And finally, our plan review services can streamline your permit process with ICC reviewed plans, helping you move projects forward faster with fewer surprises. So let's bring it all together. So on the left, again, you'll see the three primary platforms where you can access ICC innovation tools. Starting with the web, obviously, this is our most robust interface. It's perfect for research, documentation, and managing workflows at your desk or in the office. Mobile, we know work happens in the field too. So we have a mobile experience that ensures your inspectors, contractors, and project teams have access to code content and services wherever you are. And then lastly, design apps. So for architects and engineers, our integration with tools like Revit means code content and AI assistance show up directly inside the design process, contextual and real time and actionable. This is the full picture, trusted content plus modern services available wherever your team needs them. And so let's take a look at our latest add-in for Autodesk Revit. So integrated with Revit, our add-in connects your design environment to ICC's trusted library of over 2,800 building codes and standards right where your design decisions are made. You can access any relevant jurisdiction's codes in one centralized view, which is enriched with code commentaries, insights, and AI-assisted guidance, helping you grow a deeper understanding of building safety. And so we just released an update. I think it's probably our 7th or 8th update since we started this project. Back in the end of December, the ICC on the ICC website, we support versions of Revit that are Revit 2023 all the way through 26. But if you happen to be on Revit 2022 still, that you can go get a download off the Autodesk App Store. So we host that particular app on that page. So let's go ahead and take it through a bit of a test drive. So let me go back to my Autodesk Revit. All right, so actually make me do this first. Let me go to the web page where on iccsafe.org/Revit is where you can get the application. I want to make sure I was clear on that first. That at the very top of the page, you can click on the download and install button, and in a matter of about 2 minutes or so, you can be up and running with everything I'm going to show you here in a second. So anyway, codes.iccsafe.org/Revit is the location to go get the app today, and it's free to download. There's no charge for actually getting the app installed. And so, where can you find the app once you download and install it? So in Revit, if you go to the add-ins tab on the ribbon at the very top, you can see all the various feature functionalities that we're building out for the ICC inside of this design product. So that's where we're located. The first thing you're going to want to do is log in. I'm already logged in. And once you log in, you'll be taken to this particular page, your dashboard. So let's kind of walk through what you see here the moment you're up and running. So this is our our dashboard page inside of Revit. You have a listing of all the various projects that you're working on in context of the building code and tied to this particular application. You have a link to browse all the code you have access to. We have our link to our plan review services, a link to webinars like this. So this is being recorded and posted, so you can always get to whatever teachings we have through this card. We have a link to our various compliance calculators. I'll go through all this in a minute too. And then the far right, again, this is a place where I'm communicating out to our audience of kind of what's the latest and greatest, what's going on. So again, you can see that our recent update was posted December 25th. So anyway, so when you get started, let's go back to Revit. The first thing you're going to do is either you're starting with like a new file like I am, or you're starting with obviously existing files for your projects. In order to kind of start to elevate the connection between what we produced and kind of what you're working on, is to attach a project to what your current design files. And so for that, I've got a brand new file. So if I go up to my project info button, takes me back out to a place on my dashboard where it lets me create a brand new project. And really we know you've got plenty of project management software out there in use today, and we're here not to reproduce the wheel. I mean, the idea is that we need to capture a few things from you so that we can better serve you in terms of kind of what building codes are more relevant and what's useful information to provide you inside of your design environment. So in this example, I'll just type in Northgate 1. This is actually a local project to where I live. Project type is a vertical mixed use. You can type in a description here if you'd like. The jurisdiction, in my case, it will be Marin County. And in the location is 5800 Northgate Drive. Type that in and you can see that show up. And note that once I do that, if I scroll down a little bit, first of all, it shows me a nice little Google map of where the renovation's happening, but it also comes back with a message saying that there are adopted codes available for California. And we acknowledge, based upon just that information you put in, that we can tell you what the adopted codes are for this location. Would you like to preload the codes? And so if you click on preload, you can see down below, I've got a bunch of blank spaces for all the various codes that are governing this particular project. And if I want to, I can click preload, and bang, it shows me all the currently adopted codes for my particular state. Now, and see, I'll just scroll down, you can kind of see where everything has been filled out. And then once I'm done, and I'm happy with this, or I can go in and type in is there an energy code here? And I'll say, yeah, we support the 2020 NFPA. And once I'm happy with all this and I can make changes to it, I can go ahead and create the project. But this one note before I leave this particular project page is one of the things my team is working on is that, and coming soon, quite frankly, is that we are starting to build out this database more and more so that not only for the states that are mandating their particular codes, like you saw here for California, but also supporting the home rule states. So home rule is where a state will say, hey, we're not going to mandate building codes across the entire state. We're going to leave it up to the local jurisdictions. And so what you'll see, and we'll announce this, in the app itself when it's ready. But then when you're in a home rule state and you type in an address, we'll be able to tell you what codes are enforced, if any, for that particular zip code moving forward. So anyway, this is kind of the first step. We'll tell you about things that are state mandated, and then again, we'll announce when we're ready to do more for home rule states. So when I go ahead and click on Create Project, and you can see that it's now been added to my list of other projects. And so again, you can really ideally what you want to do is you want to attach one of these kind of projects to each grouping set of Revit files that you're working on. So again, that the Revit files themselves know some context of what the building codes are associated with them. So again, like I said, we were really trying to make this lightweight so that it's not something that you have to kind of reproduce again and again because you've already got project management systems, but just enough information to help us understand what to do to serve you better. So if I go back to Revit, let's take a look at this. So what I want to do is I'm going to actually bring up my code element browser. I will dive into this in a second, but let me go ahead and attach Northgate 1 to this project. And then what I can do, and I'll ignore this for the moment, we'll come back to the browser in a second. But what I can do now is a number of things. One is that if I go to my schedules, and yes, I am using an Autodesk template, I can go ahead and click on the code schedule, which automatically creates a schedule for me based upon all the codes that are in that project form. And I'll get to that question in a minute, James, when I take a break. So now if I go over to my schedules and under none, I can see I have a new building code summary table, and I can just go ahead and drag that and drop that in here. And so your question about Revit projects and the ACC cloud, this is not connected to the ACC cloud at this particular time. So if I zoom in, you can kind of see that, again, this mirrors exactly what I showed you on the project page. And any updates that you make on the project page will reflect here in this building code summary table. So they are interconnected. So there's that. Also note that when I go to like the cover page, we work with all the various variables inside of Revit. So you can now see that the project name in Revit is Northgate 1. That's tied to the project name that we've got that you put in. So you can start to see kind of all this connective tissue take place inside the product. So I talked a lot, but like it really, literally, if you just went through clicks, I think just in a few minutes, I was able to complete a simple project setup in Revit, which included entering some key project details like the name, the type, and the location. The app recognized my location and assigned the appropriate adoption codes for the state. We linked to the relevant code schedule, placing it on the schedule sheet, which I just showed you over here. And then the project name was inherited directly from the Revit project info dialog. So again, this initial project setup is really meant to help reduce manual entry and coordination errors further down the road as you build out these designs. So again, we are just taking kind of like the most interesting, most used areas of the product and tying them in based upon, again, that really lightweight project work that we ask you to input. Okay, so let me get out of this and go back to our ribbon. So just kind of going from like left to right, let me go ahead and bring up the entire codes library. And so let's see. I'll get to that question in a minute, James. When I take a break, let's go through those questions, Phil. So when you bring up the codes library, what you're looking at is essentially the entire inventory of ICC content. And so there's various ways to access this. If you are what we call a basic user, you can see certainly all the I codes and state codes for free. That's read only, but you get access to all that. If you have a subscription, then you can do more. There's all kinds of features, which I'll show you a few of those that are layered on top of that. But in any case, when you boot up the codes library from Revit, you'll get something that looks like this, which shows you all the various books that you've been looking at recently. It shows you a link to your premium title. So if you have a subscription and we subscribe to all kinds of documents here, you can see what you have entitlement to. And in this case, I've got entitlement to 2,900 titles. In your favorites list, you can go ahead and, again, favorite the titles that you'd want to use most. On the right side of the screen is that a listing of kind of any sort of notes or bookmarks that you've created in the last 30 days. So these are kind of like a quick, most recently used or documented links that you can go off to. I'll show you what notes are here in a minute. It tells me a little bit about my rights and privileges. So obviously I'm a staff member. And then what's really helpful is down below in terms of we have a live feed for all the various updates that are going on with the entire technology stack at ICC, including all the content we're producing. And so you can see below, you can see kind of all the various titles that have been added to digital codes currently in this month, and other titles that have been added to other parts of our subscription program. So again, I would say that if somebody's working inside the sausage factory for the first year of my tenure, we produce a lot of content, and it's there's just so much information that's being generated by the industry, literally on a week-to-week basis, that there's no shortage of information that we really want to share, and that's kind of the place where we share that. So let's go ahead, and the next step is just dive into a book. We'll do the 21 IBC, one of my favorites. And so again, like any other book site that you're working with today, it's laid out pretty much the same. Then on the left-hand side, you have a way to navigate the books through a table of contents. On the right side, you can scroll the content itself. Pretty straightforward and standard. At the very top, you can see where I've got a heart where I can, if I'm looking at a particular code, I can favorite it and come back to it pretty easily. We also, as I mentioned, we produce a lot of code updates here. You can see that in this particular document, we've had a number of updates, and you can go back in time or forward in time up on the upper left-hand side just to get to the document that's most relevant to the work that you're involved with. I would say this as I kind of scroll through this list. If I'm documenting, and again, I'll show this here in a second or two. If I'm adding notes to my document, those will be listed here. Currently, I have no notes. And then we have this thing called Insights, which again is a part of our subscription program. But the idea is that over many, many years, we've been providing content that helps people who are navigating the codes better understand what the codes are about. And so when I look at this dropdown, I'll show you a few things that we've got. So we have extra content for code change details, code interpretations by our team, notes about the codes, commentary excerpts, compliance calculators, reports. The list keeps going on and on. We have errata, hearing videos, key changes, premium answers, and so on. So again, all these bits and pieces of insights are all layered on top of the book itself to, again, really kind of help better understand. And so if I kind of look at a little closer at one of these, let's go down to compliance calculators. So now I'm just sorting, every section that has a compliance calculator associated with it. So let's go, we've got one in occupancy, obviously. And so if I click on Assembly Group A, for example, you can see when I go to that section, let me scroll up a little bit here, my mouse would work. One second. So if I go to this section, you can see that section's got 3 insights associated with it. Compliance calculators, premium answers, and study topics. So I want to see what the extra value is for this topic around compliance calculators. And when I click on that link and that insight, it actually takes me to occupancy classification and a calculator that I can then utilize. So again, think about this as kind of like you've got this content on the book itself, and then we layer on all these extra goodies to kind of help you navigate, utilize. Obviously, this is a very important topic in architecture that have our compliance calculations done. Study topics, if you're studying for exams, there's links to topics to help you better understand this as you're going through your testing. Premium answers I'll also talk to here in a second. And so again, like I said, very traditional way to lay out a book on a web page. That's really what this section is really meant to be. Plus, again, all these great insights that kind of layer on top of all this work to help that you better understand what the code might be telling you. At the very top, of course, is search. So, if I just do a quick search for enclosure of atriums, let's say, because I've looked for this before, you can see, like, again, like any other robust search engine, you can get all kinds of content out of your search for words. Whether, if I scroll over to the advanced term search, you can search by exact phrases, all of the words, any of the words, none of the words. So again, like every other really top-notch search engine that you've utilized, we've given you a myriad of ways to flag and check what exactly you're looking for. You can filter down by like the titles if you're looking for specific titles, if you're looking for things in certain categories, and the list goes on and on. So again, pretty central to any sort of way to navigate, of almost 3,000 pieces of literature. You've got search at the very top that lets you kind of get to the point where you want to, and you've got these facets on the left-hand side to able to narrow it down to exactly what you're looking for. So if I go ahead and bring up, let's go back to this section of the 21 IBC enclosure of atriums. So let me go back to what I said I promised I'd show. So again, in this section, you can see I've got 4 insights attached to it. Code change details, hearing videos, key changes to the content, and also some premium answers that I can dive into. But let me talk about the first, what you see at the top right. So again, this is where I mentioned that if you don't want to spend any money, you can download the Revit app today and you can look at everything in a read-only format, and it works just fine. If you actually want to have some feature functionality on top of all this, which I'm about to show you, that's part of what a subscription looks like with ICC. So starting with, if I go left to right here for each section, you can see where I'll start with, we've got an AI Navigator feature where I can ask questions of this particular section and get AI to respond to those questions. I can ask AI to summarize the section. So if I just did this, then again, it just gives me a bit of a shorter answer of what this section for enclosure of atriums is about. It tells me the reference of the section. Obviously, I'm in the section itself, and I can rate it whether I liked it or not. So again, you have this ability as you kind of scroll through each section to bring up AI Navigator and ask questions of the section or get summaries of that particular section. Next up is you're able to copy and paste text. So if you want to save text to a Word document, or you want to share with somebody, you can highlight it and go ahead and copy and paste it into your clipboard. Next up, actually, let me keep that highlighted. Next up is the ability to add notes or bookmarks. So if I want to come back to this section at a later date, think about this. So like I've been in this field for, gosh, I'll date myself easily, like 35 years or so. But this is essentially, this model, what you're seeing on screen is essentially mimics the book with sticky notes. And so as you're adding sticky notes to your book, this is the exact same kind of model. Then I can go ahead and add notes here for my project. Like I can say something about the design team, whatever, ... And then I can assign a project tag to it. So I'll go ahead, either I want to create a new one, or I can hit the drop down and I can find, I've got my Northgate project, and I can save that together. And just like that, I've now got a note that's been saved. And so if I scroll down a little bit more in this section, you can see where I've got my sticky note. My note is now listed here that I can come back to. And again, as you're working with other people on your team, you can share information together. And so this could also expand into other people's notes if you so desire in this same context of this same book. So again, just really trying to mimic kind of the experience in the real world with sticky notes, and that's what notes are about. And this idea about project tags, obviously, I think they're super valuable when you're working with a library of information. So again, it offers a bit of a systemic way to categorize and organize your data for each project. And again, we offer all kinds of tools to go back and be able to search on this. So let's, for example, so I just put the note in, I assigned it to this particular project. If I go back to the menu, I can click on notes and click on notes and bookmarks. And you can see where I now have a listing of all the various notes in one location. So here is the note I just created. And again, I can look at all kinds of other notes. I can filter by project tags, who was it created by. And I only have one note right now in my entire inventory. But I can, if I had more, I could search on those. And so again, one of the nice things about this is as you're gathering all this information, I think internal knowledge about how your firm works, we make it easy for you to go ahead and print the whole thing out. And so again, I can create a PDF file that I can then enclose in all my various notebooks that I have in my office that are on the shelf, so that when we bring on new staff, you have all this, again, knowledge enrichment available for anybody to share. So again, as you're creating these, all these notes and all these books, you have the ability to create and print by section. You can print by the whole, title. You can print by project. So you can kind of skin this however you see fit. So again, you can create those PDF files that can be used elsewhere. So again, what I really think is, or just want to convey one last time, it's like, so by capturing all these notes at the moment of review and then exporting them into your project documentation, you can save time later during a plan check response or reduce the risk of misinterpretation and provide your entire team with clear reasoning for design choices. All right, said a lot. Felt like I've been dumping a fire hose here. So Phil, I'll take a break. Are there any questions we want to go through before I continue on?
Oh, just a couple. Does it work with Autodesk Construction Cloud?
Right. So today it is not. We do not have connections to ACC. We have experimented with that, so we're close. But I would have to say it's not. We're not doing anything with ACC in the first 6 months of this year as of yet.
Another question was about how the dashboards work. There's no information flowing from Revit to the ICC Digital Codes software, right?
That's right. So what we've done is the work that's being done on the ICC site, the ICC cloud, is all being communicated into Revit. So, and a related question is, are you taking data from Revit and hosting it up in your cloud in any sort of fashion? And the answer is no. We're absolutely not doing that, and we have no plans on having any sort of way for you to upload files or take your information and store it, inside of anything that we're doing here. We're really, I think the first, as we were looking at this for the first year, our goal is really to kind of like first understand a little bit about what you're trying to do in terms of your project, and then feed you as much information and make it as easy to understand as possible. And then the next, I'm getting ahead of myself here, but the next thing we're going to do is expand what you see here today into other products. So you'll have similar experiences in other design products coming soon. But again, even when we do that, it's like we're not keen on taking your IP and doing something with it that, again, every other software company you're doing business with probably does that anyway. But that's not what we're focused on.
And I'll just make one quick comment. You got that screen up there, and I know you only have one note currently in there, but it was important. I think you mentioned if you're using those project tag categories, you can bring those notes across multiple titles. So, it's not just limited to one book. If you got a particular project spanning multiple titles in digital codes, they'll all come together. And as Eric showed you could print it if you needed a hard copy, but if you keep it in the PDF, it does retain all those hyperlinks and everything too. So it becomes a very useful electronic document.
Great. All right. Let me go back. Let me close some of these things out. There's no other questions. And just to show, if I go back to, I want to get back to this, what I mentioned earlier about the notes in the IBC itself. So when I go back to the 21 IBC, like I showed, you'll see that, let me refresh my screen. Maybe, I'm in the wrong version. I should know better. Come on, there it is. So in that particular version, you can see that there's a note that I take. And again, as I take more and more notes on this particular book, you'll start to see those things populated out. All right, back to Revit. Let's see. Okay, so we talked about all that. I guess, oops, I think I got logged out here. Hang on. I wasted too much time in PowerPoint. Give me 1 second. Logging back in. All right. So back to the code element browser. So you can see that when I went and started up this whole project, I attached the particular project called Northgate 1 to this drawing file or set of drawing files. And so one of the things we've created in this latest release we call them code elements. So they let you capture and reuse authoritative code requirements inside the project and not in a separate PDF, spreadsheet, or email thread. So essentially what we're doing is, like, let's say, let me go back to my recent projects and view all projects. And let me show you something. I've got another project called the Northgate Sustainability Center. I'll just show you what this looks like, and then I'll show you how to create it. So once I've created a project, if I want to create and save and store code snippets for reuse in my drawing, so if I want to document things or detail things, that's what code elements are primarily for. So if I click on this code elements, you can see where I've already created a number of elements that I'm going to use in my drawings, from fire rated glazing notes to glazing in hazardous conditions, and what the discipline looks like and who was it created by, obviously myself. And then I'll show you what the Code Explorer is in a second too. But let me go back to that drawing and let me go ahead and associate this with my Northgate Sustainability Center. And you can see as I change context and I associate this Revit file with a new project, you can see these are all the elements I've saved and created from the documentation that, again, as I've been going through and there's important information I want to make sure that I use in my details or have available. I now have stored all that based upon whatever is important to each of these projects I'm working on. And the idea is that when and I know this is obviously a very basic file because it's new, I can drag and drop these code elements right into my drawings. And if I want to use that for detailing and documentation, you can see that it comes right in. And I think one of the most important thing is that once I go ahead and print my drawing set out to PDF format, we want to share for, like, say, a review cycle. Let's go ahead and print and click on my Microsoft PDF is fine. Okay to that. And give it a name. Let's give it a name like test. And then it should bring up Adobe here in a second. If not, I will find that file. Oh, all right, let me go find the file and bring it up. Let's open it up. Close everything down here. 1 second. All right, a lot to do just to open a PDF file. So once I open the PDF file, what you'll see as I scroll down here is the Norse symbol. Sorry, my mouse is behaving badly in this Adobe format. But what you'll see here is I have the ability to go to that hyperlink and bring it up and actually go to where that code snippet is. And so the idea here is that as you're documenting throughout, oops, click on this, should be like right below it. As you're documenting out your files, you have the ability to create these sheet sets with all these PDF files that link right back to the actual code snippets that you were calling out in terms of why you might have done something. And so that's really the essence of what a code element is you find some information on the screen that you're interested in storing for a project for future reference to help build a case of why you did something. And then you can save that and you reuse it over and over again. All right, so let me go back and show you how these are created. So back to Revit, here we go. So if I want to create a brand new element, let's say, what I can do is go and click on, we'll just add to this, go back to our first Northgates 1, click on OK. You see that there are no code elements. I can go ahead and search and create a new element. And so what happens is that it now starts with the fact that I have all these various codes that are aligned with this particular project. And so if I'm only looking for particular elements, or code that I want to create snippets from, it will only look at these documents that are relevant to the project itself. So I'll just type in something easy like glazing. And now what I do is when I, searching for the word glazing, it's going to go and look at every single one of these documents and tell me kind of what the results are for the word glazing and any particular guide. And I can go ahead and say okay, so I can either open the book itself, or if I want to see the search results, you can scroll down and see where we're capturing that search result in those documents relevant to the project, so you can create a code element from it. Now, you can either select text in one of these search results and save that, or if you just want to grab the whole thing, you just create a code element from that whole section. And so I will just give it a title like glazing indoors. And if I want to assign a tag to it, I'm just going to leave it as building and create a code element. Now that is done, and now it's inside of that project file, and I can reuse it. So if I go back to code elements here, you can see that this has been entered, and I can obviously see it or delete it or whatnot. If I go back to Revit and let's refresh the screen, you can now see that text section is now a part of my elements library. And so again, the idea is that you can use these elements, snippets of code, anywhere you want, as long as you've attached a file to, again, a project. And why would you do that? Because now we know what codes you're working in, and we can give you guidance on like what you can search on and constrain you to what you can search on based upon the relevant codes for that project and jurisdiction. So that is one of the bigger features we just released in December. So again, and I saw a question about feature requests. I'll say this, and I'll say at the end, if there are any sort of feature requests or ideas, we are wide open to listening and understanding, what you may want to have us work on. So again, I'll come back to that in the end of all this. Let's see, going back to AI Navigator. So I showed you the context of AI Navigator inside the book itself, where you can, have it summarized. You can ask a question of the section itself. But if you really wanted to go kind of get guidance on your code compliance questions, this is really what AI Navigator is about, and one of our flagship features. That again, this is a part of a subscription. This isn't like something that you get for free, but this is something that's a part of the premium experience. And so what we've done is, if you unlike like ChatGPT, Perplexity, Gemini or whatever, where you can ask how to cook a recipe, or you can have it understand why my car doesn't work, or what's the building code. We are laser focused with our AI chat engine on the building codes themselves, and nothing else. And so the idea is that we can get this thing up to speed and smarter faster if you focus it on one LLM, and that's large language model, for those of you who don't know about this stuff in AI land. But again, it's laser focused on only the content we have, so it can be a much better partner in answering questions than if you had to train it on all kinds of things like recipe lists and whatever else. So again, that's what the essence of AI Navigator is. And you can go ahead when you want to ask questions of it. You can decide, do you want to ask a question specific of the ICOs? Maybe it's a state. Maybe you want to ask questions of a particular year of the code of California. Maybe I'll just pick 22. You have on the left-hand rail, you have a listing of all the questions you've asked before. So if you want to go back in time and see what some of the answers were, you can get to those. And again, I will just type in one of the recently asked questions here. But again, you can. What's nice about this is that, unlike a regular search engine where you have to kind of know how to drive the car, this you can come back and just really understand hey, help me understand this. And you can type in human terms. An AI Navigator will come back with kind of like what it thinks is an answer to the question you have. It tells you what it's referenced in all these various California codes. And again, you can rate the answer as well. And I have to say, like with whatever AI engine you're using for whatever you're doing, rating is super helpful for training these engines, because if it knows it's doing a bad job or it gets the answer wrong, it won't do that again, and it learns from that. And so I would say, even if you never used AI Navigator in the future, just make sure that when you rate answers for all the other various AI engines, because it's super, super helpful to train those engines out there. So anyway, so this is a bit of kind of like our view of AI. It's integrated into the books themselves, and you also have a separate web page experience where you can go in and again ask questions as you want, and then also save that information. All right, back to Revit. So the last couple of things here, premium answers. So let me click on that, take you to the premium answers site. So this really, I would say, it delivers a constantly expanding searchable database of questions and crafted interpretations from our ICC team of experts. So this is like, again, back to kind of what I said earlier about our goal is to kind of arm you with as much information to help you understand what's being said in these codes as possible. That's really the value proposition of a lot of what we're doing today. You get here with these answers. So again, you can see that you can access them, but you get real opinions from ICC experts on a broad collection of topics. If you're a member of the ICC, not an employee, but an actual member, they have memberships, you can submit a question for clarification or review by a team of experts. And then those questions, which are the most common, will get posted here with answers with links to code section. So you can kind of see where, I'll just type in Atrium, because that's pretty, I'm sure we'll get some topics on that. I can filter based upon the topic that it was associated with, a title and topic as well. And you can kind of see, as like let's click on this particular one. Does the IBC require multi-story atriums to be separated from adjacent spaces? So you can see where you have the question from a user coming in. And then we have like the answers from the ICC team of how we would approach this topic with the relevant code sections that were referenced in the answer, and then obviously a disclaimer. But again, this is, again, useful information that you can get access to as, again, you're doing your work. And we're feeding all this stuff into kind of how we go about serving you content inside of Revit. So again, this is kind of the human story for that. The other thing I'll call out is that we have a separate for-fee service, which is called Quick Consult. And really, it's meant to, if you get stuck on a tricky code question, this service will, again, connect you with an expert one-on-one that will get you those answers you need. And it's a for-fee, you pay for a credit. The answers are not put into the public domain. This is strictly a one-on-one consultation, and whatever comes of it is in your inbox and your inbox only. And again, the value proposition is that our team has deep expertise in the I codes and standards, so your question is handled by professionals who know the material inside and out. You get personalized answers for your request. You can go back and forth, and then again, we try, based on the level of complexity with the question, try to get opinions to you within 2 business days or less. And again, the service is based on credits, and the credits themselves are like $195 each. So back here. And then the last thing I'll call out is, again, we do have plan review services where we have a team of building code authors and experts that can help review your building plan. So there's a link inside of Revit to go to this space too. Now, I get asked a bunch of times, rightfully so, about like, well, hey, why aren't you guys doing any sort of pre-checks or code compliance using AI inside of Revit? I'll answer that in a couple of different ways. One is there is at least I can count maybe 30 or 40 different software vendors out there that only focus on that will sell you a service that does this with your PDF files. And so there's a vast group of people who actually have solved this particular problem as best they can with AI. We at ICC have partnered with a company, one of those companies called Archistar, which does just exactly that. And right now we're walking through kind of business models of what that looks like, so that when you're in Revit, if you want to get some kind of pre-checks done, you'll be able to do that, and AI will be the assistant that does that work. So coming down the road, I can't say exactly, and I don't want to say yet when that date's going to be, but we are headed there. But we're going to do that through a partnership. But if you actually want human beings, this is the service that we offer if you want to talk to people and not have AI kind of do everything for you. All right, let's go back to my PowerPoints. And let's back to presentation screen. Then I'll wrap up here. So in terms of kind of where we go next, so I mentioned at the top of the call that we are going to take everything I just showed you and start taking that footprint and putting it in other design applications. And so, I hate the pre-announce, Val pre-announce. I'll make my developers work harder on this, but I think by AIA this summertime, we will have everything you see here today, probably with some more that we'll be working on AutoCAD. And so, again, I worked at Autodesk for 25 years, so I know kind of the ins and outs of why this is an important product to support in an AEC world. And so, again, if you're working with other people on projects with Revit and AutoCAD, that will tie all this stuff together that you're seeing us build. And then we have other products down the road that we're looking at. But again, by I would say 1st of June, you'll see something from us in support of AutoCAD. So stay tuned on that. I mentioned also at the top about something called Code Connect API. So essentially what this is really a service where we have all the codes in a database, all chunked up by sections and paragraphs and whatnot. And if you're a programmer, and a lot of larger AEC firms have BIM managers who program, write scripts, whatnot, we give you what's called an API, which is kind of a bridge to all of our content. And you can write whatever applications you want on top of it. And those are specific to your company. And so we sell licenses for this API for, like I said, medium, large size accounts that actually like this access. And then you can roll your own. You can make your own applications, and it'll always harvest the latest and greatest codes we've got. And you can do whatever you want with that inside of your particular design environment. So that has been available for a number of years. And as I mentioned, also, again, we've just released the Code Elements feature as of end of December. And so again, these are the locations to go get, whether you're on Revit 2022 all the way to Revit 2026, free to download, free to use. We don't, as when I went through that exercise, other than showing you the premium features, like the Revit app itself is, again, free to access and use whenever you want. So let me circle back and come to an end here about a primer on our subscription. So I told you that you can get the I codes and state codes for free. You can favorite things, but you can't do a lot with it in terms of all the features like AI Navigator and bookmarking and so on without a subscription. So when you're accessing the building codes inside of Revit, you have these various options available to you. So at the very least, you can always interact from within Revit with all the I codes and state codes, like I mentioned. Premium is a for-fee service offering a list of features and supplemental materials like code commentaries and insights, AI Navigator, like I mentioned, all on top of that library of content. You can subscribe to a single title, a bunch of titles, or everything we have in the library, which is what we call Premium Complete. That's kind of like the Netflix model. You can just get everything. And Revit, the add-in we have, and soon the AutoCAD add-in, integrates with all these premium features and content when you are a subscriber to that service, or if you just want to review the codes for free under the basic tier, you can do that as well. In terms of pricing, so you can subscribe for a month, a year, even 3 years to any title or a bundle of titles, which also comes with a set of collaboration features to help you navigate, document, print, all the stuff I showed you. We made it so that like this is really like a buffet style model, business model, where you can have the 21 IBC, you can have the 24 California titles, you can pick whatever it is you want and create a bundle for it. Or, you know, we've got some bundles ourselves, like the California bundle, the New York State Code bundle, or again, like I said, the Netflix model, which is kind of everything under the sun. But again, the pricing, these are some sample prices, but yeah, your pricing will completely vary based upon what it is you want to subscribe to. I've seen things here at the ICC in the store that are like, so you can subscribe for 99 cents, all the way up to like $100 a month. Like it's again, really depends on what your needs are, or what the actual cost will be. And then, did you know that we have this other feature, again, for under premium, where it's called concurrent access, which allows up to 4 people together, 4 of your fellow employees, to access code book content and collaborate through a common code. So I'll keep saying Netflix model, Netflix sharing. Think of Netflix sharing here, password sharing. The number of users able to connect to a concurrent code at the same time, as well as the codebook titles available through a code, is configured by the user who creates the code. So you kind of, it's not like your password per se, but we give you an access code. You create an access code that you then share with your team. So like, for example, so if you have a team of 4 members with whom you want to share the 21 IBC, you can subscribe once and then share your license with the other 3 members of your team. So this in itself lowers the total cost of ownership, whatever your subscription ultimately looks like. So instead of buying 4 separate licenses, you only pay for one for the code book, and it's shared amongst your team, which again, basic math, reduces your licensing costs up to 75%. Why wouldn't you want to, exercise that? But then I think if you're thinking about, if you're like medium, large size firm, what we call enterprise, we have this Digital Coast Premium Enterprise model, which gives your organization scalable, team-wide access to the most current building codes, all under a predictable cost structure. So again, like we give you everything we have, and we give you a really great pricing deal. Phil's the lead on this, and he can certainly talk to this at the end. But like it's kind of like you get everything, you can have as much as you want. We have all kinds of other technology that we service under ICC that we give you access to. We could even probably talk about what Code Connect would look like in something like that, but again, that's kind of if you want to have a deal for a very large organization. This is what we offer under Premium Enterprise. So like I'll go from left to right. So like with Team Access, your whole group gets a premium access to the latest building codes, obviously enabling some smooth collaboration there. We have an efficient cost structure, so again, ensures predictable, standardized pricing, so you can manage costs while accessing all your trusted resources here. You can get increased accountability with tools that support regulatory compliance and accurate code application. And finally, you have a centralized admin control, which gives leaders the ability to oversee users, streamline workflows, and ensure everyone has the right tools from onboarding through daily use. If you're in a large organization, your IT department or BIM manager probably knows about these practices anyway, because when you do a deal with Microsoft or Adobe or Salesforce, again, you negotiate, you get like hundreds and hundreds of seats. You get access to everything they want to use. And there's usually some administrative systems that's on top of that to help the person paying the bills understand kind of who's doing what. And then second to last slide, if you want to give the complete experience, that was the bucket on the far right side that said you get everything. All of our, most of all of our content. We have a 14-day trial that you can get to from this page. I think anywhere on ICC's website, there'll be a link to a trial. So if you don't record this page, the URL, you can easily get it from somewhere on our site. And after the trial is over, you can decide to fall back on just the free content, or you can purchase features or titles that work best for you. And again, anything that you choose will work just fine with the Revit plugin. And then just a programming note, my team and I will be at AI this year in San Diego. We have a 30-minute show and tell, not on main stage, but like on one of the stages that are in the convention hall to talk about AI itself and all the work we're doing with Revit and AutoCAD at that particular time. So come meet and greet, talk to us if you're in the area. Happy to kind of share stories, understand feature requests, and so on. And that is it. A whirlwind tour of kind of everything that's been going on, what's to come, where we're going to be. And at the bottom, I am not shy about engaging. So if you want to reach out to me on my email address, I'll leave this on the screen for a while, but it's east@iccsafe.org. Or if you want to connect with me on LinkedIn and talk there, happy to do that as well. So, Phil, any questions?
Yeah, let me, there's a few questions on the Digital Codes Premium feature. Actually, if I can request you leave the screen here, you can post your email in the chat. But go back to any code section. I will mention too on that you had one screen that showed the Premium Complete collection. You do have a typo there. Sorry, Eric. It's actually 2,500 titles in there, not the 1,500. And then a couple points I'll make up here, Eric, if you can go to the top right where that question mark icon is. Someone asked about feature requests. Please submit as much as you can there and give feedback. As Eric mentioned, we are always improving this product based upon what you're doing. There's a form to fill out as according to what you're looking for, whether it be errata, new tools, or features, or things like that. There's a question about the AI Navigator and what you can access. I think Eric did answer that. Yes, you can select a specific iCode cycle or a specific state amended codes for the ones that are available on Digital Codes Premium. We do not share your information with third parties in questions that are submitted. When Eric talked about the premium answers, those are curated from past questions asked directly of the ICC, not within Quick Consult. And we do anonymize those because they're of general interest. But your questions from the Quick Consult will not be part of that we put in there. And as far as AI Navigator, right now it is just the iCodes and the state amended codes. It does not search through like I said, we got about 70% of the standards that are referenced in the iCodes as well too. And yeah, Eric mentioned about training the AI models by the questions that are asked and how you rate them. We train them that way, but that does not go public to any third party or anything like that. And Eric, there's a couple Revit questions, but then there's a couple more. So let me finish those first. A concurrent group, the way it works is that the number of licenses you put in the concurrent group is equal to the number of simultaneous users that can go in there at the same time. If that limit is reached, they just got a message stating to try again later. When that person using, or any of the people in the concurrent group using a license is done, if they click back on their personal profile, it immediately releases that license. If they do not do that and they stop actively using it by not navigating through the site, it will automatically kick them out after 20 minutes of inactivity. And then Eric, there is one code section there. Someone asked if you could share codes, and every code section, the last icon on there is copy the link. As you see, this is all web-based. You do not need a license to view iCodes or state amended codes. So if you do want to send a code section, that last icon there will copy that URL. And yes, if you send it to someone, they can literally be on the same page clicking on it, even if they do not have a license. Share it with the group. I'm not sure the questions on that. Anything else you saw there, Eric, you wanted to address?
Did not see anything.
Still asking about hosted on the cloud, but
Yeah, nothing.
And if people do have questions they'd like to ask verbally, we will stay on here for a little bit longer. At least I know I'm able to. So if you want to raise your hand, we'll monitor the participants and unmute for anyone that wants to ask a question aloud.
So there's a question about, does the connection to the Revit model work for all team members or only to named licensed users of the ICC Premium? So there's a nuance here. So when you log in, the first time you log into Revit, let me see if I can bring up that screen just to show it. So let me log out and then let me log in. So what you need to do to bring, of course, the software is too smart for me. What you'll get is if your first time login in Revit, you'll get a screen where you have to sign up and enter your own username and password. That, while it's under the ICC umbrella, is not connected to the premium service per se. So you can have as many people as you want sign up within the context of Revit to work in Revit, but you don't necessarily have to tie that to a subscription. If that makes sense. So again, it's not, you don't have to be an ICC premium user to use the Revit plugin. You just have to use this other gateway we've got to create a username and password. But that doesn't stop you from being an ICC premium member and using the Revit add-in with other premium members. We just made it easy so that if you're not a premium, there's another way to actually create a username and password and use it with your team.
Thanks, Eric. Someone did raise their hand but lowered it, so we'll call again to see if there's any other questions. I'll post my email in here again, once again, for specific questions on Digital Codes Premium features, tools, and talking about what kind of licenses and how to manage them with the organization. Contact me. Anything that's specific more to Revit or any of the BIM related topics, you can email Eric. All right, last call for questions by raising hand, or I think we've covered everything in the chat. Or people are looking at the clock and seeing it's top of the hour and they all want to go. All right, James, you're back. And you lowered your hand again. Maybe we're having a problem there. I will. Oh, your mic is off if you want to talk, James. Okay. All right. There will be future webinars. I think you did pull up that. I see the question being typed now, James. Keep going. We'll read it and answer it. The webinars, we are going to continue to post more. We try to keep the next quarters up there. Eric is very kind in doing these at least once a month. I think he's got some new formats planned over the summer and after AIA, but always feel free to check on here to see what recordings are available. As you can see, past ones down there and what ones are coming up in the future. Okay, with that being said, and at the top of the hour, we will conclude this. As mentioned, a recording with an email with a link to the recording will be sent out to all registrants. We appreciate you participating and look forward to talking to you if you have any questions about Digital Codes Premium or any of the topics Eric discussed today. And we do have one last one. We did mention, yes, the standards that we have available. Nice thing about our library is that all the codes you receive do come directly from the organizations that produce those standards, so you know they are authentic. NFPA, you did mention, yes, they do produce the fire and the electrical code. They have their own service called NFPA Link, and they do not license their content electronically to anyone else. So you'd have to go directly to them to have the authentic standards there.
All right. Well, thanks, everyone. Appreciate your time today. Those who are left, thank you, Phil, for hosting again.
Absolutely. Thank you, Eric, for a presentation, and everyone have a great day. I will end the recording now. Take care.